Jackie, very good morning. Good to have you with us. When are you off to the States?
I'm leaving on the 28th of July. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Well done for that.
Thank you.
Now, you're a school language teacher. So how long have you been teaching for?
Well, I've just graduated, actually. Yeah. I graduated this year. I did my 4-year degree from 2015 to 2018, the B.Ed. Yeah. And then this year I was studying for my honors degree, but I had applied for the Fulbright. Yeah. And so you applied like a year before, and I only got to know in April that it was awarded to me. So I had to cancel my honors studies to go to the U.S. for the master's in education.
That's fantastic. Just talking about that, the fact that you decided to go into teaching, one of the things that came out of this report that we're talking about here was that teaching was not the first choice for many teachers in the country, with only 49% of SA teachers citing it to be their first choice for a career. Why do you think that is? Why isn't teaching sexy anymore?
Well, I mean, I think in most careers we never get our first choice because, you know, there's competition for spaces in universities, there's limited numbers of any career, doctors, engineers that can be taken. So it's not strange that it was not their first choice. But for me, what's important is, even if it's not your first choice, the conditions that you get in schools, do they make you want to stay, or do they make it sexy, like you say, for you? And we're finding that actually even the people for whom teaching was the first choice, they don't want to stay because it's really hard. The violence, the ill discipline, and some of the problems that you raised.
We'll talk about the violence and that ill discipline where teachers have got to always be, you know, bringing order to the classroom and so forth. That almost seems to a certain extent like a societal issue, and teachers are bearing the brunt for this.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, when I was doing my practicals in one primary school, because I'm a primary school teacher, you know, you have a half an hour period, but you spend about 10 to 15 minutes of the time trying to get the class to settle, and it's big classes, 42 to 50. And I showed the learners, I spent time showing the learners that every time we lose 15 minutes, if I had to teach you 6 concepts, I only teach you 3, and we never get time to catch up on those concepts that you lost on. So every single week you lose out on concepts that you never catch up on. They go to high school with all these knowledge gaps, and they actually bring them to university, because I know from working at the Wits Writing Center that students still struggle with reading and writing academic work, and it's because of all the knowledge gaps that they've accumulated from primary school all the way up to university. So it's a big problem.
It's a big problem. Where do you think it's stemming from, though? I mean, I remember when I was in school, which was a very long time ago, we were so scared of our teachers. It doesn't seem that way anymore with these kids.
You know, I think that kids, interestingly, know a lot about their rights. And their parents also tell them, you know, about their rights. The teachers, because there's no corporal punishment, I don't advocate for violence in schools from teachers. But, you know, we need, you know, parents to help us. But the way children respond to teachers, you can see that it comes from home. So they know that these are their rights. You can't even say, oh, somebody's going to cry today. They report you for, you know, threatening them with violence and all that. And so, you know, it's problematic. Like you said, it's a societal issue, the issue of discipline in schools. Okay.
Now, the Basic Education Minister says says that we're speaking about the teaching as well. And NASATU, the teachers' union, has put forward a number of reasons for the outcome of the Teaching and Learning International Survey. Let's take a look.
With all the violence, bullying in classes, and poor discipline, teachers spend most of their time really maintaining order in the classrooms. Is it sometimes even the structure of the schools? Is it administrative work that they have that, in addition to teaching, they find themselves doing other social work?
Okay, so that's the ministers there. She's just citing what Satu was actually saying, and those are the things that we're talking about. But we're also talking about the infrastructure issues that come into play here as well, aren't they?
I mean, for me, it's always interesting when I hear the Gauteng MEC for Education, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, talking about technology, you know, teaching children coding and all these wonderful ideas. But the reality in schools is that some schools don't even have a data projector or even a projector with transparency. So you can't show, you know, even in this day and age in schools in Soweto, you can't show children videos of things. You still have to bring, you know, plastic to, you know, to post stuff like the way it was done when I was at school, which is a pity because there's so much more you can do do with technology, but without the infrastructure, it's a problem. And also the school libraries, some of them are not even functional. In some schools, there are computers, but it's like white elephants. Either the teachers don't know how to use them, which then causes them not to help the kids with using. So these are some of the problems that I've experienced in some of the schools where I went for teaching experience. But there are, of course, some good schools as well.
Are we producing good quality teachers? Are we teaching our teachers well, properly?
Well, from VETS, I can say that we are taught very well, because you are taught, according to the phase that you are teaching, you're taught to be a subject specialist. Even if you're a primary school teacher, you will decide, this is my major, this is my sub-major, but you'll have methodologies for all the primary school courses. What I think the problem is that, foundation phase teachers are really specialized. As a primary school teacher, I can't take chances and teach there, but that's what's happening. If there aren't jobs and there's a vacancy for a foundation phase school teacher, and the school is willing to take me as a senior primary, I will take the job, but I don't have the skills to teach literacy and numeracy in the way that these teachers are taught at university.
Jackie, you sound so passionate about your vocation. What do you hope to achieve after your master's education degree when you come back from the US?
So because of most of these problems that I identified at schools, I won't go and teach in a classroom. So I'm planning to set up a reading and writing center for children in Soweto, so that it can help them, with the language issues that that are so pervasive. They struggle with English as a language of learning and teaching, so I can help them catch up with that. So when they go to school, they only struggle with the actual content rather than language issues, because in the Talis report, they've been identified as such, as one of the problems.
And just lastly, in South Africa, 60% of teachers are female, yet only 20% of women are principals. That surely has something that bothers you.
Yeah. That's a huge anomaly. And that's the case mostly in secondary schools. In primary school, most principals are female. But, it's something that has to be changed. And it's great that the department has done this study to reveal these things, and hopefully will turn the tide against this gender bias in leadership positions in schools.
Fantastic stuff, Jackie Mondi. Thank you so much for talking to me here, and good luck with your studies.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Keep up your passion.